All right, testing Alpha, Bravo, Delta, Charlie, testing sound for the thing. I need to get a new gear upgate. I've been doing these Army videos about my time in the Army back in the 1980s, and I'm right now just want to do some like Vietnam flashbacks, and I want to show respect to our Vietnam vets, our brothers who were before us in the 80s. These guys were on TV all the time. I've seen some comments already about the culture of the time and that, and if you didn't grow up back then and you don't understand, be a little tame in these comments. And no, I'm not trying to glorify war. I was in the infantry. These guys did nasty bloody work. It kind of gruesome. It is what it is. It's real life. It's war. And CBS News did a lot of footage. There was a lot of, this was one of those first video wars. They were really out there in the field videotaping this, and there's some bootlegs here I'm going to get some information, trying to keep my channel rolling. So no, everybody knows about a Hamburger Hill. Now, I just did where Alpha Company got wasted at Dock Toe. And there's this war crimes thing the 101st did with Tiger Force. But now let's go to 1969. Oh, May 69. This made big news all over CBS, ABC News. I mean, it's big. It affected society. You goddamn pot-smoking hippies. Oh, Nixon there. And I bet some of you making the hippie comments still have a Nixon bumper sticker on that old 72 Ford Torino you're driving around at Greta Doomsburg shaking her finger at. So anyway, enough of my bullshit. Let's get to the reality. Then and now.
The terrain funneled soldiers into extremely accurate machine gun fire, rocket attack, and mortar strikes. Heavy rainstorms often made visibility near impossible. The close quarters fighting led to soldiers getting hit by friendly artillery. For 10 days, the 101st would fight up the meat grinder of a hill until, on the 11th assault, the surviving defenders fled.
Today, the 10th day, they took it.
The victory cost 72 American lives and another 372 wounded. The success was short-lived. Later, U.S. troops abandoned Hill 937 as it posed zero strategic value. The NBA reoccupied the position. Soldiers and war correspondents referred to the mountainous battlefield as Hamburger Hill for its similarity to a meat grinder. The controversial battle received widespread criticism, even from the U.S. Congress.
With the costly victory of Hamburger Hill, Senator Edward Kennedy attacked the administration on the floor of the Senate. The battle, he said, was senseless and irresponsible. American lives are too valuable to be sacrificed for military pride.
But the Vietnam War would continue for several more years before Saigon fell to the enemy.
10 days of brutal fighting. U.S. forces successfully secure Hill 937. The cost to the U.S., 70 American soldiers killed and 372 wounded. The cost to the enemy, more than 600 killed. Although U.S. forces win the Hill and the Battle of the Body Count, the majority of the 1,500 North Vietnamese originally spotted on Hill 937 escape into Laos.
And I'm so thrilled, I don't even know what to say. I can't believe I survived. We've actually taken this of a hill. Right as I'm about to sit down and rest for a second, a couple of soldiers come over to me and they say, hey, you know, they got a name for this hill. So I say, really?
What is it? What is it? Well, they call it Hamburger Hill. Okay.
Memorial Day, and speeches will ring with the phrase, "These dead shall not have died in vain." I wish I could be sure that phrase applies to the 55 young Americans whose lives ended on Hamburger Hill last week. Apparently, we attacked the hill only because the North Vietnamese were on it. And now that we have killed most of them, we have no real interest in staying there. It is fair to assume that other North Vietnamese will come back to it, and if we follow the rationale of the first attack, we will attack again, with, I suppose, the same result, another victory. It is hard to say these things. I've never been among those who believed that generals were heartless people who regarded
This is the jungle today. This is what
Nor have I been unaware of the
101st Airborne
responsibilities of the two
had to go up
presidents
against. This is
who
the
have
terrain.
known that a false peace
This is
now
today.
could lead to an even
2019.
greater war and greater casualties in the future. However, if, as his aides say, Mr. Nixon is trying to buy time to keep public opinion with him so that he can negotiate a meaningful peace, then I suggest that Hamburger Hill may have been militarily correct but politically wrong, because there has been an entirely understandable and adverse reaction to it. Senator Mansfield said today, areas are won and lost many times on a temporary basis. Lives are lost but once, and on a permanent basis.
Yeah, here it is today. There's some goofy music and stuff, but no, here's the thick vegetation. This is what these poor guys had to deal with. Now, the 173rd Airborne, they were all volunteers. It looks like one of them hidden positions you couldn't see. We're all volunteers. Now, that was in 1967 with Doc Toad. This is 1969, and you have a drafty army. Most of the people that were drafted into the 101st. There weren't too many volunteers, okay? Some did, but no, some were just drafted into it. Now, you got a lot of famous LRP units that came out of the 101st Airborne, Tiger Force, Charlie Company Rangers, and go from there. So, and then you also had the counterculture. You had a lot of weed smokers also that died up here. I know somebody left a comment about hippies smoking weed and all this, and his uncle was overseas, but same time, there's hippie pot smokers that gave up their lives here. They paid the ultimate sacrifice in a place they did not want to be. So no, this is not glorifying war. I'm trying to preserve some history, paying honor to the memories of these guys that were there. Look at this jungle, man. Absolutely crazy. I know down in that camp, that ranger camp in Florida, man, they had some big ass hills in there, and that was like, man, that's that stuff you hear about, that what they went up in Vietnam, big ass steep hills, and they're just climbing up it for everything it is. So no, I just want to take some time. I was in the Army for a short time. I grew up with this. This was part of the culture. It was still part of the culture in the early 1980s Army. I got to serve with people who were there. I grew up with people who were there, and there's still a lot of potheads that were there still, but Ronald Reagan was starting to weed things out, and there was starting to be some changes. So no, just a little tribute tonight to these guys at Hamburger Hill. They made a movie about it, but you know, Hollywood is, here's a fighting position. Pretty neat. Going up a hill, you ain't seeing, man, this stuff's pretty well camouflaged. I was thinking about doing one of them videos about the tunnels and stuff. Yeah, check that out. Little tunnel underneath there. They always said they never saw where they were at. It was like Ghost. You never see them in all that thick ass vegetation. So, horn salute, hit the like and subscribe. Let's be respectful to all veterans, okay? It don't matter who or what you did, just be respectful. Thanks for watching.